Okay, our session had ended. I'm now in. So we can proceed to the valuation of assets. We can start by the valuation of inventory. Why do we need to value our inventory? You can actually see that the valuation of inventory, it has got a bearing on our financial statement of financial position, because they will stand as a current asset in the statement of financial position. And the value of assets, they are presented as well to the income statement. To the income statement, they have got an impact in enhancing our profits, or they can be in a position to have our profits on a lower level. So if you choose whichever method which you would want to value your inventory, it has got a bearing on the statement of financial position. It has got a bearing on the income statement. To the income statement, if you choose, for instance, the first in, first out, you might be in a position to realize some profits which might be lower than in comparison to the last in, first out. Because the last in, first out, it might give you some enhanced profits in comparison to the first in, first out. So the inventory valuation is the monetary amount associated with the goods in the inventory at the end of the accounting period. The valuation is based on the cost incurred to acquire the inventory and get it ready for sale. So you can actually see that the costs of the goods which are within your retail shop, that is the cost which would then be valued for your inventory. So that is the cost, the purchase cost, plus the amount that will be in a position to be entailed in order for those items to be ready for sale, which would include the transportation cost. If you incorporate the transportation cost to the cost of goods sold, you then be in a position to come up with the value of the inventory, which will be ready for sale. Inventory valuation allows you to evaluate your cost of goods sold and ultimately your profitability. So you can actually see that it has got a bearing in your profitability, because if you go to the calculation of profit, you then be in a position to see that the purchases plus the opening stock less the closing stock, that will be in a position to give you the cost of goods sold. So those purchases now, that's where you then need to value your inventory in order to come up with the cost of goods sold and ultimately your profits. So the most widely used methods for evaluating inventory, you will look at the FIFO, which is the first in, first out method. We are looking at the LIFO, which is the last in, first out method, and the WACC, which is the weighted average cost method. So you can actually see that what are the objectives in evaluating this inventory. As I highlighted earlier on, you might need to determine the gross income. Inventory is used to find the gross profit, which is the excess of sales over cost of goods. To determine the gross profit or the trading profit, the cost of goods sold is merged with the revenue of the accounting period. So you can actually see that when you have your cost of goods within a specified period, you then be in a position to match with the revenue for that specified period. That's the matching concept if you are in financial accounting. So that matching concept, if you then match your revenue and your costs of goods, you will be in a position to get your gross income. So having that gross income now, if you use different evaluating methods of inventory, for instance, first in, first out, LIFO, or the weighted average cost, you then be in a position to come up with different values on your inventory. which will then be in a position to have a bearing on gross profit, on your gross income. For instance, okay, Zimbabwe might be using first in, first out method, and then Pick n Pay might be using weighted average cost. You can actually see that by the end of the day, their profit, their gross profits will be different because they would have used the different valuating methods. And then all the same, in line with the impact in the income statement, the valuation of inventory, again, it might have an impact in the statement of financial position. Because the statement of financial position, it is a snapshot of the state of the company. The investors, when they come, when you present your statement of financial position, they can actually see your net worth within the company. So if you use a different method in evaluating your inventory, you might have a lesser amount in the current assets, which is inventory, or a higher amount in the current assets as well, represented by the inventory. So having the policy of selecting a different method of evaluating your inventory, you might be in a position to come up with different figures. So you can actually see that having the impact on statement of financial income statement, you might be in a position to have a lower profit margin that can have, you can be in a position to enjoy when paying your quarterly payments, deposits, which are the QPTs at Zimra. You might enjoy that because you have declared lower profits. But if you are looking on the statement of financial position, the investors might not be in a position to, you might not be in a position to reward the investors because you are depicting a lower value to your investors that your company's net worth is so much. So those are the aspects which you should be in a position to advise the managers of any policy in coming up with the inventory valuation, its bearing or its advantages. You need to highlight those to management, and then the management can be in a position to come up with a decision having both those advices. So it is the owners of the cost and management accountant to be in a position to articulate and to be in a position to approve a certain policy, inventory policy for the company, so that they can be in a position to have or to be in a position to fulfill their objectives. On that position, are we together? Are we together on the valuation of inventory? On the valuation of inventory? Nyasha, can I have your response on the evaluation of inventory? On the valuation of inventory? Thank you very much. I can get your response. Thank you very much. Allow me to proceed now to the valuation of fixed assets. To the valuation of fixed assets. So before I go on to the evaluation of fixed assets, we are looking at different methods of how you can be in a position to evaluate the inventory. I highlighted earlier on the first in, first out, the last in, first out, and the weighted average. We've got another method, again, the specific identification. Under this method, every item in inventory is tracked from the time it is stocked to when it is sold. It is usually used for large items that can be easily identified and have widely different features and costs associated with these features. I can give a good illustration of the aviation industry. For instance, the propeller, it is an item where you can stock as an inventory item, but you can be in a position to put its value in a single unit because it is very costly. And when you are going to refurbish now the aeroplane, you can then be in a position to take the propeller on its own and place it on an aeroplane. That propeller can be in a position to be devalued singly, because if you are doing the stock at the valuation of an aeroplane, you don't depreciate the aeroplane as a whole. You depreciate the aeroplane maybe in parts. For instance, the propeller which you have placed it there, you can depreciate it separately. So the propeller, it is a good instance of a specific identification of inventory. That's what I can highlight in the aviation industry. You can be in a position to trace the value of a propeller. The primary requirement of this method is that it should be able to track every item individually with a tag, stamped receipt, date, or serial number. So you can actually see that in the aviation industry, you can be in a position to have the serial number of the propeller as the inventory item. Well, this method introduces a high degree of accuracy to the valuation of inventory. It is restricted to valuing rare, high-value items which such differentiation is needed. So you can actually see that a propeller in the aviation industry, it has got a high value than when you are comparing to the retail shops like Pick and Pay, where you are valuing sugar, where you are valuing skin and so forth. But the propeller, it has got a high value. If first in, first out, you can be in a position to read out the notes highlighted earlier on. This method, it entails that when you the goods that are the inventory that is put first, it is the one that will be in a position to sell first, and then the last in, first out, the inventory that was last to be received, it is the one that will be first sold. That is the last in, first out method. And then the weighted average cost now, you then need to get the total of the inventory divided by the total number of units. That's when you can be in a position to come up with the weighted average cost per unit. So you might be in a position to contemplate which best method now to choose. So choosing the right inventory valuation method is important as it has a direct impact on the business profit margin that I highlighted earlier on, that when making a policy, advising the management to come up with a good policy, you then need to take into cognizance the impact in the business profit margin. There are advantages and disadvantages of each method. For example, the LIFA method will give you the lowest profit because the last inventory items bought are usually the most expensive, while the FIFO will give you the highest profit as the first items in stock are usually the cheapest. To assess the method which is the best for you, you need to pay attention to the changes in inventory costs. If the inventory costs are escalating or are likely to increase, LIFO costing may be better as higher cost items are considered sold. It results in higher costs and lower profits. So you can actually see now, you need to look at the scenarios of which method we can be in a position to choose given the scenario which you are experiencing. So it is up to you, the cost and management accountant now, to be in a position to ascertain the situation in your workplace and be in a position to look at how the business is experiencing the fluctuations in the marketplace, and then so you then need to be in a position to come up with the best method you can employ in order to value your inventory within your particular business so that you can present to management for better decision making. So have we managed to comprehend the different methods of evaluating inventory and the pros and cons of employing a first in, first out method, the weighted average cost method, and the last in, first out, and the scenarios where you should be in a position to come up with the inventory policy that will be favorable to your organization. Are we in line on those aspects? Are we in line on those aspects? Would I get the response from you? Are we in line with those aspects, Trish? Are we in line? Yes, thank you, Trish. I can get you, Michael, I can get you. Okay, let me now proceed to the valuation of assets. The valuation of assets. So you can actually see that fixed assets, we are looking at the element of depreciation. You can see that if you buy an asset in the organization, as the time will be proceeding, you are realizing the wear and tear of that asset. As it is being utilized to generate income, at the same time, it is depreciating. So we then need to take cognizance of the depreciation of how and when we are going to have the salvage value and when we are going to dispose that that fixed asset. We need to take cognizance of that because at a certain point in time, we then need to see how what is the value of our assets on the statement of financial position, what will be the impact as well on the statement of on the income statement of the depreciation, which we would have calculated in that specified period. So you can actually see that in some other instances, the straight line method, it gives you an even expense of depreciation. Each and every time you will be expensing the same amount, so you can then be in a position to realize the profits that will not be affected by that method. But if you look at the sum of years digits, it can have a higher margin of depreciation, which would then be in a position to compromise your profits in this first period, and then thereafter you will then be in a position to enjoy good profits. But it has got a good scenario as well, because if you declare profits which are lower, you then be in a position to have your QPD's due, which might be lower as well, as you are paying to the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority. But in line with the sum of years digits, that will be in line with the sum of years digits. But if you choose the straight line method, you will see that you are going to experience, you are going to have higher profit margins in all those years. So you are going to be liable to be charged a tax which might be higher in comparison with the with those depreciation with the sum of years digits. So that will be the impact now on the statement of financial position, on the income statement, the expensing of the depreciation, and the net book values that will be depicted on the statement of financial position. So the management will then be in a position to know which policy can we be in a position to take, be it the straight line method, be it the sum of first digits, be it the reducing balance method, and all those methods. Okay. Are we together on those, the fixed assets, the valuation of fixed assets, before we proceed to the methods of valuating fixed assets? Before we proceed to the methods of valuating fixed assets, so you can actually see that depreciation is defined as the expensing of an asset involved in producing revenue throughout its useful life. So you can actually see you are expensing that assets through the useful life, but obviously through that useful life, you might be in a position to see that it has got a salvage value. The salvage value, it is the value which you then be in a position to realize when you have disposed the asset. Tinogona kuona mota unogona wakaishandisa for the past 10 years in your business, and then the moment you order kuzoitengesa wochiona kuti iwe unogona wakaitenga for 10,000, paunozonoitengesa wakurealize 2,000. That is the salvage value. So if you want to compute depreciation now, you need to take into cognizance the salvage value first and subtract it from the cost value, and then be in a position to spread now the amount, the difference in the specified years. You don't need to include the salvage value in order to compute depreciation. So the other bullet point is depreciation expense affect the values of businesses and entities because the accumulated depreciation disclosed for each asset will reduce the book value on the statement of financial position, and depreciation expense also affect the net income. Those are it has got an impact on the net, the income statement and the statement of financial position. So that is being illustrated by this statement. That depreciation expense affects the values of businesses and entities because the accumulated depreciation disclosed for each asset will reduce its book value on the statement of financial position, and the depreciation expense will also affect the net income. You can see the picture of those vehicles. Maybe they could have been bought in 1980, but years you know, not 2021, una zvatsaita manje. Kana ukafamba nayo unonga utonzi it is a vintage. You see, but having those vehicles, you can actually see that the salvage value, maybe on each vehicle, it might be 500 US. No one will then be in a position to part with that amount, which might be beyond 500 US, which take a mota 1980. You wapedza kushandisa mabasa mako wakuda kudisposa wakuda a higher amount, you might not be in a position to get a good deal. So you need to take cognizance of the salvage value. So the depreciation methods which we might be in a position to employ in the business, we have got the straight line method. So the straight line method, to apply the straight line method, a company charges an equal amount of the asset disposed to each accounting period. The straight line formula used to calculate depreciation expense is the asset's historical cost minus the asset's estimated salvage value, which I've highlighted earlier on. And you then need to divide by the useful life. So in order to get the depreciation amount, first of all, you need to subtract the salvage value from the historical cost. When you get that value now, you then need to allocate it by the number of estimated years which you need to intend to use that vehicle. That's when you can be in a position to have your depreciation. There is an illustration, an example of how to calculate depreciation expense under the straight line method. Assume a purchased truck is valued at 10,000 US, has a salvage value of 5,000 and a useful life of 5 years. This depreciation expense for year one will then be 1,000, being arrived at 10,000 minus 5,000 divided by 5. So the journal entry now for this transaction, you need to debit the depreciation expense for 1,000 US and credit the accumulated depreciation for 1,000 in order to be in a position to arrive to allocation, a yearly allocation of 1,000. The depreciation expense is reported in the income statement as a reduction in the revenues, and accumulated depreciation is reported as a contra account to its related truck asset account, reduces the asset's cost to its book value. So you might be in a position to have a scenario in your exam. Totaura kuti takupai mascenarios kuti truck yakatengwa gore rakati at salvage value yakati. Could you be in a position to journalize that in your QuickBooks accounting or your Pastel accounting software? You should be in a position to take in your charts of accounts. You should be in a position to journalize that journal properly. First of all, you need to take into account that the 1,000 expense, it goes to the depreciation expense. But then the accumulated depreciation, the other leg now, you then need to credit the accumulated depreciation because it is going to have an impact in your total historical cost of the asset. In do by no reduce the value of your asset. So is but you can be in a position to be faced with a scenario in an exam where you are required to journalize the depreciation, maybe using the QuickBooks accounting or the Pastel accounting. And in Doma software is so we are having a replica of the real work scenario. It's not an issue which application in the workplace. That's the essence of this curriculum, because we are impacting skill so that you be in a position to utilize those concepts in your workplaces. And then after the straight line method, we have got the units of production. The unit of production, you then need to come up with to calculate the formula for the depreciation expense. It involves 2 steps now. It determines the asset historical cost minus the estimated salvage value and estimated total units of production during the asset's useful life. So the second stage now is to determine the expense for the accounting period, that is depreciation per unit multiplied by the number of units produced in that particular period. So you can actually see that when you have come up with the depreciation expense for that unit, you then need to be in a position to calculate the number of units in order to come up with your total depreciation. We've given an illustration, an example of how to calculate depreciation expense under the units of production. Assume a piece of machinery purchased for 100,000 US with salvage value of 40,000 is expected to produce 10,000 units over its useful life. So the first stage you need to take into consideration is first calculate the depreciation per unit, which is 100,000 minus 40,000 divided by 10,000. You then come up with $6 per unit. So that's when you then come up with the $6 per unit, so the depreciation expense for the period as per unit amount multiplied by the period's production amount. For instance, within this year, the financial year, you have produced 1,000 units. That's when you are going to say 1,000 multiplied by the $6. So your depreciation expense now within that specified period, it would then be 6,000 US. This amount is disclosed on the income statement and is part of the asset accumulated depreciation on the statement of financial position. Is there anyone who has got a question on this before we proceed to other depreciation methods? Anyone who has got a question or any contribution before we are in a position to go on to other depreciation methods? So who can give me a scenario where you can be in a position to use the units of production? Who can give me the scenario where you can be in a position to use the units of production depreciation method? Units of production depreciation method? Is there anyone who can give it a try? Is there anyone who can give it a try? Units of production depreciation method, it is used in the manufacturing industry. That's when you can be in a position to use the units of production depreciation method.